The date is Wednesday, July 7. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is urging members of Parliament to be patient as the government works to increase flood mitigation allocations. The call comes in an address to the House of Representatives on Tuesday as he updated the nation on Sunday's passage of Tropical Storm Elsa. Marlon Samuels was in Parliament and filed this report.
Speaking from the floor of the Parliament on Tuesday, the Prime Minister updated the nation on Sunday's passage of Tropical Storm Elsa. Though there was flooding in some pockets of the island, Mr. Holness said by all accounts we were spared the worst.
I'm pleased to report that we had no reports of casualties resulting from the passage of Tropical Storm Elsa. The NWA's very preliminary assessment is that approximately 177 roads island-wide were affected by Tropical Storm Elsa. Madam Speaker, the NWA is reporting that there were no blocked roads as at Monday afternoon, except for the corridor from Old Harbour to Bannister in St. Catherine, which was flooded. Regarding the cost to clear and clean roadways and drains of silt and debris, the preliminary cost has been put at 443 million Jamaican dollars. Another 360 million will be required to make affected corridors accessible. We are therefore looking at a total cost of approximately $803 million.
He said the storm stressed the need for greater preparedness, and he brought attention to greater provision for shelters, the cleaning of the drains, the use of constituency development funds, and other flood mitigation measures also came up for discussion.
Given the projections that have been made, that we take very seriously a potential impact. And that means for us, Madam Speaker, and for all the members of the House and for all Jamaicans, it means that we must be prepared. That's what it means. So, for those of us who are members of Parliament who have not yet done the first phase of our mitigation program, please ensure that this is done before the end of the month.
Opposition leader Mark Golding joined the Prime Minister in urging preparedness.
Prime Minister, you have our support on the idea of preparation for these things. I join with you in encouraging all Jamaicans to be very aware of what just happened and where the risks lie, and do whatever they can to put themselves in a position where they will be able to withstand a future event.
Elsa strengthened into the first hurricane of the 2021 Atlantic storm season last Friday as it battered the Eastern Caribbean, where officials closed schools, businesses, and airports. It passed over Jamaica on Sunday before making its way to Cuba and now to Florida. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
The government of Jamaica has reacted to the death of Haitian President Jovenel Moise. President Moise was killed in an attack at his home in the country's capital. First Lady Martine Moise was also injured in the attack, with the international press reporting that she had succumbed to her injuries. State Minister Robert Morgan read Prime Minister Andrew Holness's reaction at Wednesday's post-cabinet press brief.
The Prime Minister has made a short comment on it, expressing his condolences. The Prime Minister mentioned that he met President Moise on several occasions, particularly within the context of CARICOM, and found him to be committed to seeing Haiti take her place within the world. He has condemned as an heinous act and a stain on Haiti and a sorrowful time for the region, and expressed his wish for God to specially cover Haiti.
Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith also reacted to the news.
We all woke to the shocking news of the early morning assassination of the president, and this has indeed left us all in Jamaica and across the region indeed in mourning. And we also, of course, deeply regret that we have also learned that his wife has also succumbed to her injuries, so that the First Lady, Her Excellency Martine Moise, has also been lost to their country and to the region. Now, Prime Minister Holness has communicated his own sadness on this tragedy that has befallen Haiti and its people, and we convey our deepest condolences to the people of Haiti and to the family of President Moise. Jamaica wishes to reiterate its solidarity and support to our sister country, to our neighbor, to our fellow CARICOM country and its people at this terrible time, as well as to members of the Haitian community who currently reside in Jamaica.
The online component of the National Summer School Program began on Monday and 23,000 students logged on. That's the word from the Ministry of Education. The ministry says lessons are being provided on the Learning Hub, EduFocal, and one-on-one educational services platforms. The face-to-face component started on Tuesday. The Education Ministry says so far teachers have recommended 58,000 students for the face-to-face component. Once the new sexual harassment bill is passed, every workplace and institution will have a year to incorporate it. That's just one proposal put forward in the report from a joint select committee of Parliament. The report was approved by the lower house of Parliament on Tuesday. Simone Absalom Gale reports.
Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, says the legislation has a sexual harassment policy statement template in Schedule 1, which provides the necessary guidance to entities on how to construct their respective statements to meet the one-year timeline to establish a sexual harassment policy.
This means that no workplace or institution has the luxury of choosing when to effect compliance with this part of the legislation. Within 12 months from the date of commencement of the Act, every employer and person in charge of an institution shall ensure that the policy statement required under the legislation is prepared and shall take steps as are reasonably required to bring the policy to the attention of each worker, client, student, resident, ward, inmate, patient, or member as the case may require.
Minister Grange says the report also addresses the matter of maintaining a confidential register.
Under this legislation, an employer or person in charge of an institution have a duty to keep and maintain a register. Such a register will detail all information relative to a sexual harassment complaint, to include A, the name of the parties to the sexual harassment claim, B, the particulars of the sexual harassment claim, C, the date on which the sexual harassment claim was lodged, D, any action taken by the employer or person in charge of an institution in relation to the sexual harassment claim. An employer and person in charge of an institution shall ensure that the information contained in the register is kept in a secure manner and that the confidentiality of the information is preserved, and shall A, take all necessary and appropriate measures to protect the information contained in the register from unauthorized access, unauthorized use, and unauthorized disclosure.
Minister Grange also notes the committee's agreement that the time limit allowed for reporting of sexual harassment cases should be 6 years and not 12 months. The debate will continue in other sittings of Parliament. Simone Absalom Gale reporting for the news on PBCJ.
The Extradition Amendment Bill 2021 was passed in the Senate on Friday. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Senator Matthew Samuda, says the bill will not infringe on the rights of any person being sought for extradition, whether to the United States or any other country.
The amendments seek to clarify and amplify the law and will not infringe the rights of any person being sought for extradition, whether to the United States or any country. Mr. President, the amendments will highlight the law on the types of evidence that is accepted in extradition proceedings. The bill seeks to amend the Extradition Act to 1. Provide for the admission of evidence in the form of records of evidence in the case in extradition proceedings, and 2. Allow any judge of the parish court, whether or not that judge is within the same jurisdiction as the person who is being sought for extradition, to issue an arrest warrant for the purpose of committal.
The minister informed that the amendments will explicitly allow for the admission of records of the evidence of a case, which will be in addition to the other forms of evidence already permitted under the Act.
The bill defines record of the evidence of the case to include, among other things, documents or statements which describe the identity and probable location of the person sought, and statements of facts of the case, including the time and location of the offense. Mr. President, this definition of record of evidence of the case in the bill is simply a recital of Article 8.2 of the Extradition Treaty with the United States. The amendments to the Extradition Act, Mr. President, do not interfere with the court's inherent power to request more evidence or to deny the request if the evidence presented is not deemed satisfactory or sufficient to accede to the extradition request.
The bill was passed in the lower house on Tuesday, June 22, with one amendment. We now get the latest market updates in this quick business report. The Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ says it will continue to offer limited non-cash services from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. at its St. Andrew Revenue Service Center located in Constant Spring. This while restoration work resumes following delays caused by the passage of Tropical Storm Elsa. Operations will continue to take place from the center's lobby area, accommodating only non-cash transactions of credit cards, debit cards, or checks. Interim customer service activities that were disrupted on Monday resumed on Tuesday, with the reinstallment of an air-conditioned tent pulled down as a precaution ahead of the storm. Customers are reminded that the services that will be available include payment of driver's license renewal and examination fees, payment of police record fee, payment and query of property tax, pickup of renewed driver's license and drop-off of driver's license renewal applications, sign out of motor vehicle titles for transfers, and pickup of motor vehicle title by arrangements or appointments only. The public is reminded that the location will not be able to offer motor vehicle registration at this time. In a release, TAJ said efforts are being redoubled to restore the use of the banking hall and upper floors, which were impacted by smoke and soot from the recent fire incident. It says the extensive work being undertaken, including specialized cleaning, air quality improvement, and painting, is progressing, and the hazardous material left in the aftermath of the fire incident have been removed. The tax authority says taxpayers who find it necessary to do business at a tax office still have the option of visiting the Kingston or Crossroads locations with a bolstered staff complement to handle the expected increased customer traffic or any other tax office that's convenient to them. In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE combined index declined by 2,754 points to close at over 426,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 96 stocks, of which 34 advanced, 47 declined, and 15 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 30 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, 1834 Investments Limited, and Access Financial Services Limited. Stocks declined for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Burrito Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2009.5% preference shares, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, and Siboney Group Limited. QWI Investments Limited was the volume leader with over 1.9 million units, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 1.3 million units, and Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with over 800,000 units. In foreign exchange trading for Tuesday, July 6, the US dollar sold for an average $152.28. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $123.33. The pound sterling traded for $209.72, and the euro sold for an average $180.19. In market data for oil, prices rose towards $76 a barrel on Wednesday, rebounding from steep losses a day earlier, with support coming from a tight market in the short term after OPEC Plus talks collapsed this week without a deal to boost supply. Brent crude futures climbed $1.20 to $75.73 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude traded up $1.22 to settle at $74.59 a barrel. In today's Living Healthy, Dr. Heather Dawn Lawson-Mars looks at good nutrition, nature working along with the food that we eat for good, strong, healthy teeth.
Hi, welcome to another episode of HD's Jazz. Look at my fantabulous backdrop, the majestic Blue Mountains. I'm here at Surge Island Dairies, and today we're going to talk about good nutrition and good oral health. It's a bright sunny day. I just love the sun. But more importantly, vitamin D comes from the sun. It's a great source that allows calcium and phosphorus to be absorbed in our bodies from the food we eat. They are building blocks that work well for strengthening our enamel. You know, the outer layer of the tooth. We can get phosphorus from proteins such as beef and chicken and fish and eggs, and calcium comes from milk, cheese, yogurt, and green leafy vegetables. So nature, working along with the foods that we eat, give us good, strong, healthy teeth. But those are not the only things that work well. Vitamin C is great for healthy gums, and we can find it in lots of fruits and vegetables. And vitamin A is also great at building our enamel. In addition to that, the water and fiber from fruits is a great way to prevent tooth decay. They help to flush out and clean the teeth naturally. So the next time you're going to choose something to eat, think of all the value that you can get from fruits and vegetables and dairy products. But the best thing to drink, the most tooth-friendly beverage, is water. It helps to flush the mouth and keep your teeth free of tooth decay. So you see, good health has a lot to do with nature. Vitamin D from the sun that helps our bones and teeth to absorb calcium and phosphorus. Vitamin A from the fruits. Vitamin C for healthy gums. Listen, I am out of here, but check us out on FYI, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. See you next time.
Here are some of the stories making headlines across the region. Haitian President Jovenel Moise is dead. He was assassinated at his home early Wednesday morning by a group of armed assailants. Prime Minister Claude Joseph is now in charge of the country. PBCJ understands that First Lady Martine Moise was also wounded in the attack and succumbed to her injuries Wednesday morning. Mr. Joseph is urging the Haitian public to remain calm. He says the police and army would ensure the population's safety. The late President Moise had been ruling Haiti by decree after legislative elections due in 2018 were delayed in the wake of disputes, including on when his own term ends. Cuba has produced the whole kit for its new antigen used in PCR tests for the detection of the coronavirus. In just 4 hours, this new biological product can detect the SARS-CoV-2 virus in persons, even though they might be asymptomatic. We hear more in this report from Richard Richards.
These are the first 644 kits of the antigen Jumelisa SARS-CoV-2 produced in Cuba aimed to identify those infected with the COVID-19 virus. This new biotechnological product has already been integrated into the health and virus detection Cuban protocols. Produced at the Immunoensayo Center and legalized by the Pedro Curie Institute lists of tropical medicine, the new diagnosticator will soon be delivered to the Medicines Marketing and Distribution Cuban company. After hard and long meticulous tests of effectiveness, according to Deputy Director of the Diagnosis Development and Production Area, Dr. Irina Valdivia Alvarez, the new biotechnological product can identify in just 4 hours the presence of the COVID-19 virus in suspected or asymptomatic patients. She also highlighted that this new test drug is 100% Cuban, both kit and raw materials that were used for its development and production. While the first 644 cases of antigen Jumelisa SARS-CoV-2 are already in the cold chamber, last stage to which they are subjected before their delivery, work is being done on the next 2 batches agreed for this month. By July 8th, said Dr. Valdivia, they must have been delivered by that time 826 kits, and by July 15, more than 1,600, with which the Cuban health system will have more than 705,000 diagnostic tests. Due to the USA economic and financial blockade, PCR kits and other medical necessities to fight COVID-19 are very, very expensive and hard to get to Cuba, sometimes impossible, even by means of a third country. But thanks to the Cuban scientists and their 30 years experience in producing vaccines and other medicines, more than 1 million Cubans are now fully immunized with 2 of their homemade vaccines, Abdala and Soberana 2. By the end of August, 60% of Cuba's population should be totally immunized against COVID-19. And until last Tuesday, 6th of July, the death toll due to COVID-19 in Cuba from March 2020 has risen up to 1,387, while the active positive cases up to date amounts to 20,307, of which in ICU, 70 are in critical state and 112 moderately ill, in a country that has nearly 12 million people. For the PBCJ, I'm Richard Richards, Canal Caribe.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to impact business entities of all sizes, some companies on St. Kitts and Nevis are formalizing terms of employment in the context of the pandemic. Glenn Bart of SKN Newsline tells us more.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to impact all sizes of business entities, some companies on St. Kitts and Nevis are formalizing terms of employment in the context of the pandemic. Recently, a memo dated 2nd July issued from the TDC Board of Directors and sent to the staff outlined the TDC Group policy for crisis situations. The memo addressed the issue of vaccination against COVID-19 and the possibility of job termination on failure to be vaccinated. The memo was sent to SKN Newsline by someone claiming close association with the company. SKN Newsline contacted Mr. Earl Kelly, the chairman and CEO of TDC, regarding the memo. He would only comment saying, quote, "We deliberated and sent the memo out. We have no explanation to give. Our only obligation is to our staff," end quote. In Section 2 of the memo, failure of a TDC employee to vaccinate against COVID-19 without, quote, "medical advice acceptable to the company," unquote, could result in the employee having to take vacation leave, suspension, termination of employment with notice, or termination of employment without notice where the law permits, end quote. Over the past few months, the Chamber of Industry and Commerce has been encouraging vaccination within the business community as an essential means of fully reopening the country to business activity. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
Fisherfolk in St. Lucia have incurred significant losses as a result of the passage of Hurricane Elsa. Rough seas associated with the tropical storm damaged the devices at sea used by the fishers to haul in their daily catch. Stanley Lucien tells us more.
When Hurricane Elsa made its unwelcome visit Friday, much of the focus was on the peeled-off roofs, felled trees and downed fences. But the damage was not confined to the land. The early arrival of the adverse weather system caught the fishing community off guard and took a heavy toll on their ports at sea.
We never expect to get a system like that so early, you know. Normally, we do get storms or hurricanes like that around August or September, you know, and that one came so early, like it caught us off guard. We had the amount of fish pots we lost. We can't even get the numbers right yet because from Sunday we've been moving, switching back and forth the ocean, you know, and we coming out empty. Even today we had to spend long hours, you know, when the tide get a little, you know, favorable for us. We were out there and we just came back.
Clarice says the Labre fishing community had been hit by bad weather before, but the impact this time around is unprecedented.
That is the first time we have been impacted so heavily, man. Heavy losses, man. Elsa, that one came on us so fast, you know, that system.
The Labre fishermen are trying hard to recover some of their losses, but they've been largely unsuccessful so far.
If you see the damage on shore, you know, on shore you might see, well, you all had massive damage, but out there, offshore, in the ocean there, it wasn't easy, man. Yeah. Right now, we're just trying to put the pieces back. Like, we don't give up. You know, fisherman is very resilient. We never give up, you know. Like, from Saturday, we've been working back, trying to construct our pots, you know, assemble our fish pot, putting sticks, you know. And even yesterday and today, we are already pushing another set of fish pots out. That's the type of work, you know, because no matter what, things like that, you know, nature, we have a lot of respect for it.
The story of the loss of fish pots by the Labre fishermen is repeated many times all over the island. The fishing industry is generally underinsured, meaning they will have to bear the burden of the setback brought by a merciless Hurricane Elsa, who visited with little notice less than 1 week following fishermen's feasts. Stanley Lucian for the HTS News Force.
We now go to sports. On Wednesday, reports emerged that the Japanese government plans to impose a virus state of emergency in Tokyo during the Olympics. This means that spectators could be barred from venues. Several Japanese media outlets reported that the emergency measures, less strict than a blanket lockdown, would be enforced until August 22, following a rise in cases less than 3 weeks before the games begin. Ministers will consult with experts on Thursday and make a formal decision at a virus task force meeting later that day. Kyodo News, citing a senior government official, said it was now likely the Olympics would be held behind closed doors. The pandemic-postponed 2020 Games will take place under strict anti-infection rules, with overseas fans already banned. Organizers set a limit last month of 10,000 fans, or half of each venue's capacity, but recently warned that closed-door games remains an option as the virus situation worsens. And that's our package. You have just watched the news on PBCJ, the People's Station.